Hey everybody, how y'all doing tonight? Welcome to the long Independence Day weekend if you did have, or you took Friday off. Otherwise, welcome to the first weekend of July. Every other Sunday, Rooftops of America Livestream. Thanks for being here. Tonight, we've got Arizona, New York, and California. So let's talk with, I feel jumping right in. As you probably all noticed, the Arizona episode is now out the door and readily available for folks. I hope you had a chance to take it in, or you will. Definitely, I feel like I want to recommend to folks, like, if there ever was a reason to go back and redo them, I think Arizona is right now the showcase model of why. If you go back and look at that first iteration, all 5 minutes of it, we sure left a lot of stuff on that script was short, but man, looking back on it, it was an effort. Like, we really worked our butts off to just get that 5 minutes. But going back and redoing it this past September was really awesome. And I think the product that is out now, the episode that just dropped now, is so much better, production wise, hosting wise, team effort wise. Like, it just has a much better feel to it. It really does sort of capture what I think is cool about high pointing and how it fits into the bigger picture of places. Like, that's the thing we really wanted to drive home with Arizona was, yeah, Humphreys Peak is there, but there are all these other awesome things to do in that area. Like, it's the city of seven wonders. Why would you not want to lean into that? And Humphreys Peak is one of those wonders. So I feel that, like, the product is so much more complete. And like I said, Arizona, it's one I've wanted to redo for a long, long time. And I feel that, like, what's on there now, like, there's still a few things I wish I would have probably got. One of the comments I received on it and another on Facebook was, hey, I wish you would have got to the Painted Desert or Petrified National Forest. I wish I would have too, but some of those things are just a bit too far, just in the time. But still, like, we captured every one of those seven wonders and a little bit more. So it paints that complete picture that I want to show about these high points. So if you get a chance to check it out, I really hope you take the time and watch it. Let me know what you think, especially if you compare it to that first iteration compared to the second. Other than the fact that, man, a lot of mileage in 8 years, apparently. So I looked, yes. Yes, 41 is a lot different than 49. So let's see what we got here. Pretzel, hello, how are you? Trip plan coming up to Mammoth Cave National Park. Nice, out in Kentucky. I'm also planning a trip for the two high points of Death Valley National Park for each state. Cool, that's awesome. Hey, Eric, glad you're here. David, thanks for stopping in. And Bill, hello. Why no channel memberships? Because I haven't given it enough thought. I feel like if I'm going to do a channel membership or a Patreon or something like that, I want the tiers to be substantial enough And in order to make them substantial enough, I really got to put some thought into what that would be. I would like it to be worth people's time. I don't. It's the same with merch, actually. The sort of two go hand in hand. I got to do one for the membership. I got to do a little more investigation and figure out what would be good tiers. Talk to some other channel folks that do have tiers and see what works for them. But I want it to be substantive. I don't want it to feel like I don't want it to feel cheap or chintzy. I want those if you're going to do memberships, I feel like it really should mean something. So that's pretty much the main reason why I haven't done channel memberships. I haven't given it the thought to come up with what would those tiers look like for folks. And then second, merch came up. I think, Eric, you brought that up a while back, especially with the comment, hey, we hit 2,500, when's merch coming up? That's actually closer to reality than the others, because I have given that thought. I've come up with several cool t-shirt designs. I'm working on a sticker design. So there will be some merch coming soon. In a way, in a way, I want to quote Spaceballs, when will now be then, soon. But yes, I would like to see merch coming out the door, hopefully before Christmas. So, by the way, tonight's beverage of choice, because it's so blisteringly hot out, is actually good old-fashioned raspberry lemonade. Not a drop of alcohol in sight. Just raspberry lemonade to quench my thirst, because it has been hot as blazes. Let's see. Nicholas, really enjoyed the extended Arizona. Thank you very much. Do I have an artist in mind to make the channel emotes, or would you make them yourself? I have zero artistic talent when it comes to drawing, sketching, painting. I don't even pretend that I'm any of those things. My wife is a pretty talented artist. I'd probably look at her first for some of those. I do have a good friend of mine, Davey Decant, who has helped me film some of these before. Helped film some Rooftops of America. I'd probably consult with him a bit as well to get some insight from him and some recommendations. I also work with another talented individual named Dwayne Richardson, who is a top flight graphics designer, and I would probably ask him for some advice and counsel as well. Yes, you fools, you captured their stunt doubles. I love Spaceballs. In 5th grade, I memorized that entire movie, and there are certain parts, even all these years later, that still show up every so often out of the blue, that just make me laugh. So, let's see what else. I noticed your most viewed video is Neath at over 18,000. Yes. In fact, at the YouTube meetup a couple weeks ago, I actually talked to that with other folks, that the thing that got the most traction on my channel is in not any way, shape, or form representative of the content on this channel. It's a mystery. There's a couple reasons. I think it traded really well. One, it has a great title. I'm actually, that's one of my favorite things I've ever titled on YouTube. I like mysteries in general. So it literally is a lift from Poirot or Sherlock Holmes, something like that, The Strange Case of Venus's Moon. It's also gotten, that particular thing has gotten some of the most interesting comments and responses on things I've ever seen. So, needless to say, but that thing has played really well over since it's been put out, and it's not representative of the channel. It doesn't have anything to do with high points. It doesn't have anything to do with even, it has a tie into the solar system series. But even that particular one doesn't tie into the Rooftops of the solar system series, where I'm really looking at these planets and moons and looking for the high points on them. Like, it's just this thing. I thought it was a cool observation. I couldn't fit it into the Venus episode. I thought it was worth exploring, and I did something with it and threw it out there, and it just, that's the one. So the battle continues on trying to make the linkages for folks to be able to make the jump from that to the other content that I'm producing, particularly high point related, or even to get them to jump into the solar system series. It doesn't, it's a one-off. It really is like a one-hit wonder. Yeah, so funny thing that. Yeah, I know YouTube really got 100,000 subscribers the other night. And, you know, I was talking to the Wandering Woodsman. I know some of you follow him, and if you do others, check his stuff out. He's got great stuff. But he was talking about, and I mentioned this, I think, the last time we spoke, that he had a thing on cemeteries go viral, and it just blew up overnight. And it, too, was, you know, the algorithm just sort of, yay. But it wasn't indicative of the content. A little bit, because he was in Pennsylvania, and, you know, but it was far enough outside his normal things that he didn't necessarily, he saw some pickup from it, but not what you would think. So we'll see. I mean, I'm going to keep slugging away on this series. I'm going to keep slugging away on the solar system series. Fingers crossed. Series is coming, just for everybody's awareness. I've got 2 series in the works. One of them you already know about, the Seeking the Signers series, which is completely different, and will have its own respective channel. Like, it's not gonna, you're not going to be seeing something on John Morton coming up in the Rooftops of America channel. Like, it's got its own channel. And then I have another series that I've been working on for the last couple months, which is a little more lighthearted and fun, but still keeps me in the woods. And I think you'll like it, but I'm not ready to quite talk about that one just yet. So bear with me. Let's see. Would you consider joining me for that Death Valley trip? If I do it, it would probably be on Sunday in October to the following Tuesday. I don't think I can in October. The wife has already made plans for us to go up to Salem, I believe, in October over the long weekend. So October's booked. But I really do appreciate the thought, Pretzel. I would be open for those things, but like I've told others, I need lead time on that. So, in fact, would anyone be yeah? There you go. So, Pretzel's looking for folks. If you can head that way, then you definitely should. I bought my plane tickets for Bora Peak over the Labor Day weekend. I'm going to try Thompson Peak as well. High Peak in the Sawtooth. That's ambitious. That's really cool. Labor Day is, what are we doing? The wife has plans on Labor Day too. My schedule looks like this. The next topic on my thing is actually Mount Marcy. That's locked in. So Mount Marcy is happening next Saturday. That's the plan. So we've got, I'm leaving here, Pennsylvania, midday Friday. I've rented a little cabin just a couple miles away from the trailhead for 2 nights. So I get there hopefully Friday early evening. So I do a little bit of filming. I'm going to start on the trailhead for Marcy at 4 in the morning because it's going to be a long day. Not only the hike itself, but once I'm done with the hike, I got to pretty much get everything else in that area in the can. And so I got to haul my butt up the mountain and back and then film the rest of that day, probably till dark. And then Sunday, get up and pick up 2 sites on the way back home. So it's going to be a full 3-day adventure. Am I ready for Whitney? Eric, I will let you know after Marcy. If I have a good day on Mount Marcy and those 14 miles go down well, I will have a definitive answer for you. Right now, I want to say I'm 85%. I'm feeling 85%. Marcy, I've really put a lot on that as sort of the test, the big test. The bottom line is, though, we're doing it. I'm going to Cal. The tickets are bought. Like, I'm locked in, so there's no going back. So we're doing it. We're committed. We will see what happens. So 10.5 hours. That was my time for Marcy. How good is that? Well, I'm thinking I'm going to be spending about 12 hours on the mountain there and back because I have to film. So, hey, that's for me. I don't know. I've never done it, so I can't really tell you. I do know that the way I've written the script, I'll be shooting around Marcy or Mount Marcy Dam, and other locations. So, yeah, I went on the trail from. That's my plan too. So I'm going to get into the Adirondacks with the AMC. It's right next to the lodge. There's the information center, and there's the lodge. But park, pay my fee, get on the trail, and hike quick. Because time is, the light is. I gotta get those miles down relatively quickly. So, what I'm really hoping for is that I get good days, and I'm really looking forward to the cooler temperatures of the Adirondacks because training in this mid 90 degree humidity and heat has just been miserable. So, yeah. So New York is set. I'm really excited. The script looks pretty good. There was a lot there, so I had to be a little more selective. I feel like I could easily do 3-4 hours on the Adirondacks and everything it has to offer. Like you could do a 12-part series just on the Adirondacks, no problem. There's so much there, and it's such a strikingly cool area that I had to be a little selective. So I'm hoping to get. I feel like I got a good story. It's actually what's really interesting is there's more on the mountain itself than there has been in the past. Because I know, like even talking about Homer's Peak, focus on all those other areas around it. And yes, we've finished, but Marcy really does have a pretty strong story on its own. So, and then that actually is going to trade over to Whitney as well, because Whitney has a pretty strong story all of its own as a peak, Sierra Nevadas and Whitney. So California script right now is 3 pages, which ain't going to cut mustard. So once Marcy is in the can, I have basically a solid week that I have to crack that script out, get 10 pages. So I'll be head down on that and writing like a maniac to make that real. So let's see what else. It was somewhere in the 60s when I hiked Marcy. Despite that, it was extremely hot for most of the hike because of the effort involved in it. Yeah, I know it's not a walk in the park, so to speak. No pun intended. I know that it's going to be. That's why I'm putting my Whitney fitness to the test on Marcy, is because it is a significant hike. Like, you're going to work. So, Adirondack Park is the largest U.S. state park. I think actually Adirondack Park is the largest park in the lower 48, like just in general. It's 6 million acres. Like it's a significant block of land. New York legislated that thing into existence in like the 1890s, 1880s. There were two actions. I want to say the first was 1892 that it was legislated into existence, and then 1894 they legislated the forever wild or forever wilderness aspect of it. Yeah, there you go. Adirondack Park is the largest state park and the largest public protected area of any kind in lower 48. Yep. So it's a big block of land. And that's part of the reason why I feel like you do 12 episodes on this place. Because it is, there's a lot there. So, but I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be a good weekend. It's going to be a long weekend. There's going to be some good work put in, but I think it's going to turn out well. So then moving on, 2 weeks after that is going to be Whitney and everything that entails that. So the plan's still there is fly out on Saturday, get to San Diego, meet up with Brett and Eric and Amy, spend the night at Brett's house. And early Sunday, we drive up to the portal. Probably film a bit on the way, but probably get most of the filming knocked out on Monday. So depending on when we get there on Sunday, we'll probably get some of it done too. But Monday will be the big film day. Tuesday, hike up to trail camp. And then Wednesday, do the summit and come back to the portal. Spend one more night in camp at the portal, and then head out on Thursday. Pick up any last things, any other little things we haven't got yet to film on that Thursday. And my flight back is like, I want to say it's like 1 a.m. So taking the red eye out of San Diego back to Philadelphia. And I'll be home on that Friday, which I will probably then promptly take around and put in for a sick day to recover. So what I'd be curious about is how everybody else's High Point adventures have gone. How was your Independence Day? We kept it pretty low key here. Got in a good training hike on Independence Day in the heat. Did a quick little hike with the new bag this weekend, but I haven't really put it through its paces yet. So that's going to happen not next weekend, but the following, where I'll really put some miles with the new bag. And then we went on Saturday. Me and the kid actually went to the secret berry patch and picked a whole boatload of wine berries. And that was Saturday. And Sunday, here we are. More training miles, but nothing particular. So it was a really quiet sort of weekend, even with that longer bit. If you get Marcy and Whitney, what number would you be at? I want to say it's 42. I can tell you real quick. Let's see. It's been a while since I've looked. I want to say I'm either at 39 or 40. And I know there's people out there you don't know. No. Not off the top of my head. I think part of the problem is I go back to so many so often that I've sort of lost. Like, I'll say this, New York will be a new one. So, all right, 40. I'll be at 42. So, yes, Mount Washington was number 40, which was August of last year. So, yeah, Marcy will be 41, fingers crossed. Whitney, 42, fingers crossed. And then Katahdin, 43. And we're looking at doing that in September. So, Bill, hiked 10 miles today, got stung by a wasp, 4 ticks, and tripped once. Other than that, a wonderful day on the West Virginia mountains. I'd be fine with the 10 miles and the 4 ticks. I can't. I hate getting stung. Hornets, wasps. Man, I've been stung. There was one week back when I was working at Camp Manitowish as a counselor, where I got stung 3 times in 1 week, and I was just miserable. Hornets, man, and not in the same spot or anything, like just 3 random locations around the camp, and it was just a bad string of luck. I hate getting stung. I hate it. And so it reminds me of well, that's right. I don't think since last weekend, that's something I didn't mention. Last weekend, I went and had my first sort of significant hike over in the New Jersey Pine Barrens, and that was awesome. What a cool area. Definitely need to get over there and do a bit more hiking in that particular area. The hike itself was about 8 miles, and it wasn't, you're not going to get elevation in the Pine Barrens. But I got a lot of fresh blueberries, or fresh wild blueberries, which is awesome. But also the flies were out. I will say that there were a lot of sandflies and horseflies, and thank goodness for bug repellent. But in general, it was a really cool place to hike. It has a really cool feel. I definitely want to get back there in the autumn because it really does have this sort of spooky vibe. You get the feeling like all of a sudden you can understand why there's all these ghost stories about the Pine Barrens when you see some of these gnarly pine trees and, the thick underbrush and stuff like that. So it's it is really a cool spot if you ever get a chance to be over in that part of southern Jersey. Look into taking a hike there. So that would be my recommendation. I think I've only been stung once. It was a wasp sitting on a handrail at the Scooby-Doo ride at Six Flags St. Louis. And you remember it. I got one in my shirt once and goes, oh, man, Nicholas, I feel for you, man. I feel for you. Have you decided if you're going for the 49 steps or are you going for the big one? I'm going for it all. I'm going to make the shot. I don't know if I'm going to get it. You never do. But I'm at least going to make that attempt. I feel like I gotta. In the perfect world, I'm going for 56. So, that is my ideal. Like for me, this series completes with 5 territories, DC, and all 50 states. Whether they're successful or not is a different story. But I'm at least going to make that shot. On the way down from Mercer, I had an accident. I was sliding down the rocks on the way down and tore my shorts and underwear. That reminds me back in my cycling days, and had the bike go out from underneath me, and the asphalt just destroyed my cycling shorts. And then people got to see a little more than they wanted to for the next couple miles as I rode home. So, good luck on Terry's particular Agrahan. Yep, we've talked about Agrahan before, and I know we'll talk about it again. That for me is, interestingly enough, like I can picture everything about Denali. Like I can visualize it, knowing full well that it doesn't have any reality in what's actually real there, but I can at least visualize it. Agrahan is one of these things where it's such a complex series of events where all these things have to happen that I can't quite, put that together yet. Just getting to the island. Like, you can get to Denali. It's relatively straightforward, actually. Fly to Anchorage. Get in a car. go up there. Yes, I know there's more to it, permits and all that, but like the series of events for that is really straightforward. Where Agrahan, the series of events for that is you got to get to Guam, you got to get to Saipan, you got to get a boat, you got to sail up a chain. Like it's just all these things. So that one is much harder to visualize than Denali is. And it's funny, I was looking at American Samoa recently, and that sort of actually goes in the same bucket as Agrahan does. It's smaller scale, but you still have this series of events. Like you first have to get to American Samoa, which is an event in its own right. Then from the big island or the main island, you have to get to the national park, which is on, I think, Tau Island. And then from that point, you know, you'll have to figure out your lodging. You'll have to figure out how you get your machete men and, you know, figure out how to get to the summit. Like it's, that one will be a very good proving ground in some ways for Agrahan. Lam Lam is relatively straightforward. Get to Guam, and then you can actually drive to the trailhead. There's more to it than that, but Guam would most likely be picked up when the Agrahan expedition happens. Eric, I'm trying to think of what your spin-off series could be. National parks, historical battlefields, Capitol buildings. So one of the things, this is a series that's on the back burner. It's not one of the two I'm actively working, but there was I've got a ton of notes for a series called Forgotten Episodes of American History that really does would spin off of the High Point stuff, because so much of that was informed by things I found here that never made it into an episode, but were really cool historical events that nobody realizes or we've just forgotten about. So there's still that. But no, this one is more lighthearted. Surprisingly, there is a High Point connection. It's not as overt, but I found the rabbit hole by doing research on certain high points around the country, but it is much more. I don't want to spoil it. I want to tell people, but I don't want to spoil it. It's not ready yet, but it's a good one. I like it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But national parks, historical battlefields, Capitol buildings, I can safely say, while some of those might be in the Forgotten Episodes of American History, this new series has nothing to deal with those. Yeah, the territories are quite expensive. Agrahan in general is going to be, how many people can I get to commit to an expedition? It definitely is one of these things by scale. The good news is neither Guam nor Northern Marianas is a place where the wife wants to go. So I don't have to worry about the family commitment. But I can't get away with that on, say, American Samoa. If I'm going down to American Samoa, the wife has already assured me that she and the kid are going as well. So, yeah, so here's the deal. To get to American Samoa, one, you need a passport. No problem. But you're sort of committing yourself to 2 solid weeks. The Hawaiian Airlines that changes. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. So, needless to say, the American Samoa one, once that starts to take shape, you guys will surely know that it is taking shape. So, all right, let's see who we got. Yeah. My kid is 11. He is 11. He turned 11 And on May 8th, he was, my birthday is May 11th. His is May 8th. So, Traveling Ron Man, hey man, I'm glad you're here. I tried to jump on the other day on your live stream, and I literally jumped on as you were saying goodbye. It was like curses. Bus Campers, hey, it's good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Everybody, Bus Campers is another person I met at the YouTube meetup at a Little Buffalo State Park. He's got a great channel. Give it a check out if you can. I hope I get this right, but basically what he has done is they refurbished a bus, not a full-size school bus, but a smaller one, and they travel around Pennsylvania parks, and review them, hike them, things like that. It's a great channel. Give it a check out. So I'm really glad you're here. Thanks for being here. The other thing that is going down right now is, well, Katahdin's been shifted. I think you all figured that out. August was a no-go, but my buddy Matt and myself are planning right around, I think, September 23rd is our plan to hit up Katahdin. So yeah. So one of the Agrahams, which are their cost, which is about $7,500 a day, divided by the number, which is about 8 of them, 10 days back in 2018. When I was looking into it, when a conversation with John Mitchler, we were thinking about $35,000. And that wasn't including the flight to Guam. So it's one of these things that the more people you get, if you can get 10 to 15 people, you have to treat it as an expedition. And that's what changes it from Denali. Because Denali, you can just get a guide service. You can pay the fee. Yeah, you're going to pay money. $15K, I think, is what I normally hear tossed around. But the planning elements of that can sort of be taken care of. Yes, there are certain things you need to do. Whereas Agrahan, it all falls on you. You need to lead it. I mean, it needs to be planned out. Like, for me, it's literally going to be putting on that old school ops sergeant hat, dusting off being an ops NCO and laying out every single step. Transportation, logistics, supply, food, all that stuff, every single detail. And then, finding people that are willing to commit to that bit. So the good news is there have been 2, I believe. Maybe there's a third underway, or soon, I don't know, 2 for sure that have done it and have been successful. So getting that information, I believe, from Clint, was it Clint Call? John Mitchell was on the first one, but Clint, I think, was on 2 of them. There's a couple other folks too, but getting their details, getting their records and all that is going to be sort of the cornerstone that I want to build off for my version of it. So in general, Agrahan and Denali, when you look at it episode-wise, they're going to be different. So I'm really looking at a mini series of sorts for both of those. So from not only planning that expedition, but planning the production of how we film it, what's going to be essential to capture is going to be a challenge in its own right. So it will be a lot more involved. Let's see. How long is the actual hike for Agrahan from the time you'd leave the closest shelter to back to the same shelter? Good question. I would have to go look at other people's notes. Shelter meaning a community where you can buy food, hotel. Oh, you get dropped off the boat. You have to bring everything. So you basically get to Agrahan, you unload the boat, and the boat comes back however long you said, hey, we're going to be here 10 days. Come pick us up in 10 days. So it's it's a thing. Like it's so completely different. Like, you know how everybody says Denali is completely different than every high point in the US, and it's true because it is. It's 6,000 feet taller than, well, you can imagine a little bit less than 6,000 feet taller than um, Whitney, which is number 2, and it's way up in Alaska, and you have all these other conditions that you've never really had to deal with, and you're there for weeks at a time. Like, it's a thing. Agrahan's the same way. It really is this other extreme. So when you look at Denali and Agrahan, you are looking at basically the 2 U.S. state or territory high points that require maximum effort, to use a Deadpool line. So you just got to plan for it. It requires more detail. Could Marcy or Katahdin be, I can't see what you got there. I don't know. Could Marcy or Katahdin be a class 5 hike if you went during the winter? Of the 2, I think Katahdin would be a little bit more challenging if they would let you even up there. So, wow. So it is 9:12. We have just flown through everything. Agrahan and Denali will probably cost about the same and take about the same time. 10K 2 weeks. Yeah, I heard 3 for Agrahan, and but yeah, it's a commitment. Like, if you're doing it, you might as well block off a month, and that's what you're doing. What are you doing? I'm climbing a mountain. I'm climbing a volcano. I feel like of the 2 though, while Denali will give you that big summit, that big mountain mountaineering experience, that's sort of it is one of the 7 summits, right? But the Agrahan is the closest you can get to like that old school. We're going into the wilds. We're going on an expedition. Dr. Livingston, I presume, sort of thing, whereas Denali is, I can't believe I'm saying, a more controlled environment. Agrahan is like, how good is your planning? How good is your planning? How good is all your skills? So, yeah, I will start asking probably next year for a list of candidates if people would want to do Agrahan, with the intent to go the following year. It's going to take a good bit of time to plan it, even with everybody's material, because you're just not going to do it. You just can't just show up and, hey, we're doing it. It's no Bright Azimuth. So on that note, though, it's 9:14. I'm going to wrap this one up. Thanks everybody for being here, and the next one of these will be, well, splitting the difference between Marcy and Whitney. So I'll see you all on July 21st. Hopefully I'll have good news about Marcy, and be waiting with bated breath for Whitney. So thanks once again. I'm glad y'all turned out, and I will see you when I see you.